So I've got the engine suspended from the crane, got it nice and level, and I'm just going to check the distance between the pump and the back of the gearbox, because that's the limitation of getting it into the car. When the pump hits the bumper, that's as far forward as I can go. Now the engine can come down a little bit once we're some way in, and that will, due to the arc, bring it forward, but I might be tight, so I'm just going to check at this point. So the measurements say that I am a little bit short on the distance I need to get it in, but I'm hoping that once the boom comes down, I will have enough clearance. I can, just lean it a little bit to get the clearance. But my plan at the moment is to roll the car backwards under the engine and box, and you can see that I have a little trolley platform with the jack on it, and that's under the back end of the chassis. That's for two reasons. One is to give a little bit more clearance, because these crane legs barely go under those lower suspension arms you can see there, but also because that's holding the chassis, because you have to have the brace removed that runs across, and the chassis actually closes up and sags with that brace removed. So as you can see, I've got almost no clearance between the hydraulic bottle and the back of the car, and I am short on this distance, so I'm going to very carefully lower the whole thing down a bit. See how the arc helps us, and I can wind the load balancer, as well, to move the engine forward just a little. So as you can see, we've come up just a little short, and I'm going to very carefully see if I can wind the engine forward a little, though I might have an issue with the crank handle. It might be a case of just very gently pushing the whole thing forward whilst I lower it just past that critical point. So we're safely in and sitting on the mountings. It actually took very little pressure on the back of the gearbox to swing it forward enough to drop through, so I just did that with whilst standing on the back of the crane to act as ballast, just to be keep in mind that tipping point if the load swung forward enough to go over the balance point. I had one hand on the handle for the hydraulic release, the other hand just pushing on the back of the gearbox, eased it past. As soon as it was past, I was then able to lower down and was pretty much perfectly aligned on the rear mounts. These bolts that you can see sticking up can only actually be removed if you remove the suspension arms, and in fact have reduced height heads. And I've got some foam pushed in, might just be able to see it poking out there, that keeps those bolts pushed up and stops them from damaging the lower arms. But that all just slotted straight in. That engine mount bolt fell through the mounting. the one on this side just won't drop down. It's in completely the wrong place, really. I knew I was going to be making new engine mountings, that I wasn't happy with these, but that just kind of confirms it. I do want to check the position of the engine left to right, make sure that's as even as it can be. Though both these rear bolts can actually be rotated in the mounting brackets, so they're not actually under any stress. But we'll just try and get it absolutely as centered as it can be. I want to get the rear beam back in with one of the two bolts each side, just so I can take the jack out from underneath. And this is now in a position where I can do all my clearance checks, look at how low the intake system needs to be to go under the engine cover, and all those sorts of things, and actually make a little bit of progress after the last few weeks of me being out of action due to illness.